It's a mouthful of seeds and dried meat, and you're grinding, not chewing. Grinding. Left side, right side, your jaw doing the work of a machine, the muscles at your temples flexing like small fists. The food fights back. It's tough. It's fibrous. And it's got sand in it. Real sand, quartz grit, worn off the flat stone your mother crushed the grain on this morning, and you can feel it grating between your back teeth with every pass. Something cracks. A hard little pop deep in your jaw. You don't stop. You've eaten like this your whole life, and so did everyone before you, and there is nothing on this earth softer to reach for. No bread that dissolves, no spoon, no sip. Just this. Grit and sinew, and the slow ache of a jaw that never gets a day off. You swallow, and you reach for more. That jaw is in a drawer now. A shallow cardboard tray in the back room of a museum, labeled in pencil, 12,000 years old. And here's what stops the people who study it: cold. The teeth are perfect. Ground flat, worn down like river stones, but perfect. No holes, no decay, not one cavity in the whole mouth. This person never brushed, never flossed, never once saw a dentist or a tube of toothpaste. And their teeth are in better shape than yours. So here's the question. You brush twice a day. You floss when you feel guilty. You've got fluoride in your water and a professional cleaning twice a year. And you've still been drilled, filled, and numbed in a reclining chair while someone in a mask says, you might feel a little pressure. How does a person who did none of that end up with a better mouth than you? And I'll tell you right now, the answer is stranger than they didn't have sugar. Everyone reaches for that one. It's not wrong, but it's the shallow end of a very deep pool, because it wasn't one thing, it was a stack of things, 5 of them, and every single one has quietly vanished from your life, one at a time, until the protection was just gone. You didn't get dirtier than them, you got softer, and that turns out to matter more than anything in your bathroom cabinet. Their mouths weren't cleaner, their food was harder, and hardness is a kind of medicine. Now, when I say ancient teeth, I know the picture in your head: a caveman, hunched, filthy, a mouthful of brown stumps, keeling over, dead at 30 from an infected molar, rotting gums, gaps where teeth used to be. Wipe that image. It's the exact opposite of the truth. Pull the skulls out of hunter-gatherer graves, the real ones, the foragers who lived before farming, and count the bad teeth. Scientists have done this thousands of times. The rate of decayed teeth comes back around 1 to 2%, 1 or 2 teeth in 100. Some entire populations show almost nothing at all. You could go grave to grave, jaw after jaw, and find complete sets of 32 teeth without a single hole in any of them. Now go get your own dental records. The average adult today is walking around with somewhere north of 10, 15 decayed or filled teeth in their head, whole mouths of silver and porcelain patches. We have entire buildings full of people whose only job is drilling those holes and plugging them, and they are not running out of work. So already the story is upside down. The people with no toothbrush win. Easily. But it gets stranger, because it's not like their mouths were clean. Here's a thing your dentist would never say out loud. By our standards, ancient mouths were disgusting. Thick, crusty deposits of hardened plaque cemented right onto the teeth. So thick that archaeologists scrape it off in flakes and study it. It's called dental calculus, fossilized plaque, a rock made of the bacteria that lived in a person's mouth, sealed and preserved for 10,000 years, still holding the DNA of everything that grew in there. Sit with that. They had so much plaque it turned to stone, and no cavities. You, meanwhile, scrub yours off every 12 hours with a nylon brush and a minty gel engineered in a lab, and you've still been in the chair. So whatever is going on here, it is clearly, provably not about being clean. Clean is not the variable. We are the clean ones, and we're losing. This is the part that should bother you, because the easy story, they were pure, were filthy, sugar rots your teeth, that story tells you the fix is willpower and floss. Brush harder. Be better. And it doesn't work. because you already are brushing, and your grandmother brushed, and here we all are. So the real question isn't why their mouths were cleaner. They weren't. The question is what was happening inside that filthy, crusted, stone plaque mouth that made it repair itself faster than it could break down, and why that exact machinery is switched off in yours. There are 5 answers. They stack, and the first one is the one you already think you know. Factor 1, the sugar. Yeah, I know. You saw it coming from the title. But stay with me, because everyone says sugar rots your teeth, and almost nobody can tell you what that sentence actually means. It's not the sugar touching the tooth. Sugar is not acid. A sugar cube doesn't burn a hole in enamel. Something has to eat it first. That something is a bacterium. The main culprit has a name, Streptococcus mutans, and it does one thing for a living. It eats fermentable carbohydrates. That's the technical term, and it just means the easy stuff. Sugar and starch that breaks down into sugar. White bread, crackers. The bug swallows that, and out the other end comes acid, lactic acid. It's called acidogenesis, acid making, and it's the whole game. Here's why it matters. In a number, your enamel is the hardest thing your body makes. Packed calcium and phosphate, tougher than most rock, and it sits in your mouth just fine until the acid drops the pH around it below 5.5. That's the line. Cross below 5.5 and the chemistry reverses. The calcium and phosphate stop staying in the tooth and start leaching out of it, dissolving into your own spit. That's a cavity, not a bug drilling a hole. Your tooth melting from the outside in, one acid bath at a time. Now go back to that jaw in the drawer. What did that person feed the bacteria? Seeds, tough greens, meat, roots you had to dig and gnaw. Almost nothing that breaks down into simple sugar. The bug that makes the acid showed up to the table and found nothing to eat. Barely any fermentable carbohydrate in the entire diet, so barely any acid, so the pH almost never crossed that line and the enamel almost never dissolved. You, on the other hand that bacterium a fresh meal every couple of hours, and it thanks you the only way it knows how, in acid. So yes, the sugar is real. It's factor 1, but it's the shallow answer, the one you already had, because they didn't have sugar. Tells you what they didn't do. It doesn't tell you what they did. Like, their food wasn't just missing sugar. Their food was hard. And hardness, remember, is a kind of medicine. Factor 2. And this is the one that should make you put down whatever you're drinking. Because it turns out it's not really the sugar. It's the clock. Every time that bacterium eats and makes this acid, your mouth doesn't just stay sour forever. Your spit fights back, washes it down, drags the pH back up to safe, but that takes time, roughly 20 minutes. Dentists call it the acid attack. One bite of something fermentable and the pH under your plaque plunges below that 5.5 line and stays there, dissolving enamel for about 20 minutes before your saliva can climb back out of the danger zone. 20 minutes per exposure. Now here's the part that matters. It doesn't add up. It resets. One cookie eaten in 2 minutes, that's one acid attack, 20 minutes of damage. But take that same cookie and nibble it over an hour, one bite every 10 minutes, and you've just restarted the clock again and again and again. You're not in the danger zone for 20 minutes. You're in it the whole hour. So now look at your actual day. Coffee with sugar at 8, latte at 10, gum, a soda with lunch, afternoon snack, sip of juice, a mint, something sweet after dinner while you watch TV. You are not eating 3 meals. You are staging a slow all-day drip feed of little acid attacks, and your enamel never, not once, gets a long stretch of peace to recover in. Your mouth lives below the line, now the jaw in the drawer. That person ate in bouts. You gorged when there was food, and then there was nothing. No pantry, no fridge humming in the corner, no cabinet you drift over to at 9 p.m., You ate hard, and then your mouth got hours of quiet to climb back to neutral and repair. 2, maybe 3 acid attacks in a day, spaced far apart, against your 15. It was never really about how much sugar. It was about how often, and their eating had a shape yours has completely lost. A big, hard, effortful meals with long silence in between, which brings us to the teeth themselves, because all that grinding wasn't just keeping the acid away, it was doing something to the surface of the tooth. Their food was harder, and hardness is a kind of medicine. Factor 3. Pick up the tooth and actually look at it. Run your tongue over your own back molar right now. Feel that? The bumps. The peaks and valleys, the deep little grooves running across the top. Those grooves are called fissures, and they are structurally a disaster. Narrow canyons too tight for a single bristle to reach. Food packs into them. Bacteria move in and never leave. Go ask anyone with a filling where their cavity was, and most of them will point to the top of a back tooth, right in one of those grooves. That is where decay is born. Now, the ancient molar, those grooves are gone, sanded flat. The chewing surface is smooth as a worn coin, and there's a name for what did it: dental attrition. Occlusal wear. It just means the tooth got ground down by the food itself, day after day, year after year, until the whole rugged landscape on top was polished off, and it was ground down a lot. We're not talking a shine. On some ancient jaws, the molars are worn down 2-3 millimeters. The entire bumpy crown flattened into a level table the way a stone step gets scooped smooth by 1,000 years of feet. Because remember what they were chewing: tough fiber, dried sinew, and the grit, or that quartz sand off the grinding stone in every single mouthful, a mild abrasive in every meal. Every bite was fine sandpaper. Here's what that buys you. No fissures means nowhere for the acid makers to hide, no canyons to pack food into, no unreachable crevice growing its own private colony, where no tongue and no twig could ever scrub it out. Their teeth were self-cleaning by the simple violence of being used. The exact geography where your cavities start had been physically erased. You will never have this. Your food is soft. It slides down. Your molars will keep every groove they were born with, sharp and deep and packed, until the day you die. Perfect little harbors for decay, protected by the fact that you never have to work for a single meal. They wore their teeth down to save them. Their food was harder, and hardness, you're starting to see it now, is a kind of medicine. Factor 4, and this is the one nobody's selling you because you can't put it in a tube. Go back to that idea that a cavity is your tooth dissolving. If enamel can dissolve out of the tooth, here's the question nobody asks: can it go back in? Can a tooth undissolve? It can. It does. Constantly. It has a name, our remineralization, and it is happening in your mouth right now in the gaps between the acid attacks. When the pH climbs back above that line, the whole process runs in reverse. Calcium and phosphate come back out of solution and rebuild the enamel, patching the microscopic damage before it ever becomes a hole. Your tooth is not a static rock. It's a wall that's being dissolved and re-bricked all day long, and a cavity is just the moment demolition finally outpaces repair. So what's laying the bricks? Your spit. Saliva isn't water. It's a repair fluid, supersaturated with calcium and phosphate, meaning it's carrying more mineral than it should physically be able to hold, loaded and ready to dump straight back onto your teeth. It neutralizes the acid. It washes the food away. It is, no exaggeration, the single most important thing protecting your mouth, and your body makes it for free, but only when you make it, and you make it by chewing hard. The more you work your jaw, the more saliva floods out. A big, tough, grinding meal can drive your glands to pump over a liter of the stuff. A liter of liquid enamel repair, triggered by nothing but effort. Now picture your lunch: a smoothie, soup, something soft that you barely chew down your throat in 90 seconds. How much saliva did that summon? A trickle. You drank your meal, gave your repair system almost nothing to switch it on, and the mineral just never came. You bathe your teeth in acid all day, and then forget to send the repair crew. That ancient jaw pumped saliva by the liter. Every hard-fought meal, hours of grinding a day, flooding the teeth with mineral over and over, rebuilding faster than any acid could tear it down. They didn't repair their teeth on purpose. The food did it by making them work. Their food was harder, and hardness is a kind of medicine. Factor 5, and this is the one that changes what the other 4 even mean. Because so far I've been talking about that bacterium, Streptococcus mutans, like it's a villain that broke in. It didn't break in, it was always there. It lives in your mouth, and it lived in theirs. And that's the piece that should stop you cold. The acid maker was present 12,000 years ago, and those teeth are still perfect. So it was never really about the bug. It was about the crowd it lived in. Your mouth is not a surface. It's a colony, around 700 different species of bacteria, a whole rainforest of them, most of them harmless, plenty of them helpful, all packed together and holding each other in check. Scientists have a word for the healthy version, a balanced oral microbiome, and a word for what a cavity actually is. It's called dysbiosis, the balance tipping, not an invader winning, the whole community curdling, the peaceful crowd shoved aside, and a few acid-loving species exploding to take over the neighborhood. And here's how we know what theirs looked like. Remember that fossilized plaque, the calculus, the stone made of bacteria, sealed for 10,000 years? You can extract the DNA right out of it. You can read the exact roster of species that lived in a Stone Age mouth. And when researchers did it, they found something staggering. That ancient community was diverse, balanced, stable. And Streptococcus mutans, our great enemy, barely shows up, a bit part. A face in the crowd, boxed in by 700 neighbors who wouldn't let it run. Then farming arrives, a flood of soft, stored grain, pure fuel for exactly one kind of bug. And the same DNA record shows the crowd collapse, the diversity crashes, the balance breaks, and that one acid maker climbs out of the background and takes the whole mouth over. You didn't just add sugar to your diet, you ran a war of extinction inside your own head and handed the survivor a throne. That's why brushing can't save you. You're not fighting one germ, you're standing in the rubble of a lost ecosystem, one that farming shattered and no toothpaste can rebuild. Their mouths weren't cleaner. They held a living, balanced world that yours no longer does. Their food was harder, and hardness, it turns out, is a kind of medicine. So watch what happens when it all lands at once. Because these 5 things weren't 5 separate switches. They were one switch, and it had a name and a date, the Neolithic transition, the day we started farming. Every protective factor I've walked you through, all 5 of them, ran off that single decision, and they all flipped the same direction at the same time. The soft-stored grain fed the acid maker. Factor 1, gone. It sat in the pantry for grazing all day. Factor 2, gone. Milled fine and cooked to mush, it stopped grinding the teeth flat, so the grooves came back. Factor 3, gone. Soft enough to swallow without a fight, it stopped pulling the saliva that laid the mineral back down. Factor 4, gone. And the flood of pure starch shattered the 700 species balance and crowned the one bug that eats it. Factor 5, gone. 5 defenses pulled out from under the tooth in one move, and you can watch the mouth cross the line because it's written in the skulls. The foragers, remember, 1, maybe 2% of teeth decayed. Then farming arrives, and the very next populations, the early grain eaters, jump to 10%. 5-10 times the rot in a few thousand years. No new germ, no change to the tooth. Same enamel, same species, same human being. Just the fuel, that's the threshold. That's the flip. A mouth that repaired itself faster than it broke down, tipped quietly, permanently into a mouth that dissolves itself faster than it can heal. The one with no toothbrush was never the fragile one. That was us. We just hadn't done the math yet, so we didn't lose their teeth by getting dirty or lazy or careless. We lost them by winning. Every soft loaf, every cold drink, every meal that goes down without a fight. That was the goal. That was progress. Thousands of years of human effort spent making food easier to eat, gentler on the body, kinder to the jaw. We got exactly what we wanted. We made eating effortless, and the effort was the medicine. We threw it out because it hurt. Here's the thing that stays with me. That person's jaw survived 12,000 years in the ground with a perfect set of teeth, and we read their whole life off it. What they ate, how they worked, how they suffered. One day, someone is going to do that to you. Lift your jaw out of the dirt, hold it up to the light, and they won't need a coin or a calendar to place you. They'll just count the fillings, the metal, the porcelain, the little drilled repairs. That's the signature of our century. We're the ones who made food soft enough to love and left it in our bones as damage. They chewed grit and kept their teeth. We chewed nothing, and it cost us everything.